What's going on, all of my freaks and geeks out there? We are the Square Round Table Podcast. I really want to thank all of you guys for joining us tonight. And once again, we have another comic book review. And I am so excited, guys, because tonight we have a very special guest. Please welcome the very talented artist, writer, and creator of the amazing and hilarious comic book title Cinnamon, Miss Victoria Douglas. What's going on, Victoria?
Oh man, life is so good. We're glad to be here.
Hey, we're excited to have you. Like I said, we've been looking forward to this. Once again, big shout out to Anthony over at Soda and Telepaths, man. Thanks to the guys at Behemoth and Happy Tank. We're just so happy to have you over here. And thanks to those guys, they were able to put me in contact with you, and we made it possible. We made it happen. So big shout out to all of those guys.
Yes. Super excited to be here.
Hey. Awesome. Hey. I love it. I love it.
Hitting you with that 90s web graphics.
Yeah. No, that's like our vibe. Like we love, like we're all 90s babies here, so we love it. Like
yes, we love it. We love the 90s.
Yeah, it's retro all the way around.
I was gonna say, you see what's behind me? I got the Power Rangers right.
But yeah, I always like to ask all my guests, because once again, we've been going through a lot of craziness this last year, and everybody's had to quarantine and all of that good stuff. I just want to know, for you, how has everything been? How's your mental health been going? How's you, especially with your career and all that stuff? How'd you have to deal with the last year and the pandemic and all of that good stuff?
Oh boy, that's such a funny thing. Like, it was the worst thing that could have happened, and then it turned into the best thing that ever happened. And so I graduated from college last year.
Sick. Congratulations.
Congrats. Yeah, it took freaking forever. It took so long. It took me 10 years to finish my degree, and wrapped it up last year. BFA in illustration. Super excited.
Awesome.
So I think when the pandemic really hit, I was trying to figure out what was coming next. I've been in academia for 10 years. Like, what does the rest of everything look like? And so, like, at kind of the turn of the year, I'd put a ton of time and effort and money into revamping my con table, getting ready to sell at a bunch of conventions, and I had everything slated out so I could hit the ground running, because I've been doing that for a while and just love selling at like comic and anime conventions. And that just died on the vine. I went out and I did a self-published run of my first little anthology book and sold nothing because the cons were happening.
That's true.
And I was feeling very new into comics and very new to the industry as a whole. I've been in like editorial illustration for a long time, and it was just blah, the world's on fire now. Like, what comes next?
All of us felt that way, seriously.
Oh, I know. All the best laid plans just kind of fell apart.
Yeah.
I had applied and gotten into a grad program out in San Francisco for comics. There's a comics MFA at CCA, and it was fantastic. I went out and I interviewed in person literally like the week before they shut everything down in San Francisco. And it was a difficult decision to defer and turn that down, because like, I'm not going to go across the country to start a school semester again. So I think it was just because I was left thinking, now what? And luckily that gave me more time to work on Cinnamon, because Cinnamon originally started as my senior thesis.
Nice. Okay.
So my degree is in illustration, but I transferred to the Columbus College of Art and Design in 2018 and just piggybacked onto their comics program. So I took that curriculum for my last 2 years and did their like comic capstone thesis project, a thing where, so Cinnamon was that like one issue kind of thing. And so we spent the year developing the idea and then producing the first issue. And so like in some ways immediately, like the lockdown last like March was great for me, because I'm an introvert. I like to work from home, and all of a sudden I need to be in class.
Yes.
So I don't know. I felt like with all the uncertainty, I just wanted to make Cinnamon as polished and rockin' as I could. And I just threw my whole like heart into making sure that this was the story that I wanted to tell, and all kind of with the intention of it just being my senior one-off, and let it just roll into something else. And then I just did freelance for a few months before Behemoth reached out and said, hey, we saw your thesis comic and it's super cool. Can we publish it and can you make more? Yeah, sure, I'll do that. I think I'm gonna say no.
So they just randomly hit you up out of the blue. Like you didn't put it out there to anyone.
No, I didn't pitch it to anyone.
Wow.
I wanted to go back. I had so much I wanted to do with the idea, but I was perfectly fine taking a break after kind of a really intense 3-month bender making the first issue. But they reached out to me. Kevin Rodatelli from the Happy Tank imprint reached out to me on Instagram, and that's where those discussions started. And so it was just a wild ride figuring out what it meant to actually go back and make this into a full series. And so that's what I've been working on since. And it's been about 8 months of really just like focusing on Cinnamon and getting through the pandemic and really just trying to plow through it and come out with a cool comic at the end of it. Oh no, we're good.
Oh no, I was just going to say before. So what we got for the first issue, was that exactly what you submitted for your capstone, or
I made some very minor like edits and changed some of the dialogue, but it's like probably 95% just what I made senior year. And so like issue 2 and 3 kind of mark a post-school Cinnamon. So there's a bit of a flavor shift and the story gets a little bigger. But yeah, the first issue it was written with the idea of it becoming a larger series, but it was like the little one shot that could. So I'm super happy that it got picked up, especially by such a great publisher. And it really feels like I'm putting my best foot forward and I'm just giving the world the comic that I want to read and what I hope others really find a lot of fun and joy and laughs in.
I definitely agree. Because what were you about to say, Dmitri?
I was just gonna say, like, I'm not a person that like has like a cat or whatever, but like I just was like, when I read your thing, I was like, so that's how it is to have a cat. That's the craziness you go through to have a cat.
No, seriously, bro. They are some little buttholes. Like they can be sweet, like at times, but like when they in their mood, they are in their mood.
Mm-hmm.
Leave me alone. Give me what I need, and then you go away. They use you, basically.
I hope that's what happens when he does go for the catnip. He just becomes a biker and just starts.
Yeah, but do they? But how often do they scratch?
Ripley used to scratch a whole lot more as a kitten, just learning boundaries and learning that she's actually like causing damage. She's gotten a lot better about it, but she's still like very hands-on. She can get a little intense, but
pretty much she's like kind of chill now that she's used to you guys.
Yeah, she's very curious. She always wants to know where sounds are coming from, or she'll attack bugs and whatever gets into the house. It's turned into a good type of like curiosity, where I think before it was just kind of go attack. We got her as a very little kitten, and so the first 6 months was really, it was a lot. We were in a little studio apartment at the time too, so it was like there was no getting away from her except going into like the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
But no, she's chilled out a whole lot, and she's my little baby. I love her.
But no, if it's anything like the story, it's completely adorable story, and I love the secondhand experience of like getting to fantasize of what it's like to have a cat, because I've never had a cat.
Exactly.
But I definitely feel it. And for you, I wanted to know more so about the setting of your story, because we talked about it before. Like I felt like Cinnamon had like a Quentin Tarantino-esque type style of action, and then just thinking about it more, since you talked about anime, it has the wackiness of FLCL, and I'm just wondering for you specifically, like where did that idea come from to have that? What's going on in reality, but then in your cat's mind is all kind of craziness? Like where did that idea come from?
So I think inadvertently, I was pulling a lot from my childhood reading, like Calvin and Hobbes.
Nice.
He's got like this deal where he's Spaceman Spiff, and like so he's on the playground playing around and having fun, and then it jumps to like him as Spaceman Spiff, and he like fights dinosaurs and UFOs and stuff.
Yeah.
And like I realized well after the fact that that was totally one of the things that I was pulling from, especially as far as like the humor of this is a normal thing, but then it's not a normal thing. And I think going into developing the idea, it was just like completely blind, because it was such an academic thing in the beginning. I remember the first day of senior year, and I sat down and said, what do I do? What do I make? What is the thing that I want to do? And we had literally picked up Ripley maybe a few weeks prior. And so I said, okay, whatever it is, I'm going to write it about or featuring or something to do with cats. And so as far as like direct influences, it's like there was a lot. I think I was just an amalgamation of everything that I was digesting from my peers, a lot of like weird avant-garde movies and stuff. Like I was watching a lot of movies by Masaki Yuasa, the guy who made Devilman Crybaby, and really loose, fun artwork, but also like really crazy perspective shots, which is something I've always loved and always wanted to put into my own work. And so I think I had this idea of just, I want to appeal to my strengths and do action scenes and some level of humor. And I just kind of let all the pieces fall into place and let it curate this comic for myself that I wanted to be telling. It was really funny because one of the major influences as I was working on this was the movie MFKZ, which like you can see some of the style and flavor in Cinnamon. And so I was watching it and I pre-ordered it on Blu-ray. I needed it day one and I showed it to everyone that I knew. And I said, this is like the coolest thing. You have to watch this with me. So I watched it like 10 times. And so then Kevin, as we were talking about signing Cinnamon to Behemoth, he was like, this reminds me a lot of this other property that we're signing and we're going to release this French comic in the States. You might have heard of it. It's called MFKZ. And I just died.
That's like,
it was the funniest thing.
Yeah.
Oh man,
that is awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
I get to come out alongside one of my just favorite properties, which was super validating. So just a lot of things like the vague city setting. You know, I wanted it to be a big urban like cityscape and big and sprawling a deal. And so I think I pulled from a lot of things, but I really wanted it to be an authentic experience and something that I like wanted to tell and wanted to give people. I wanted it to be the comic that I would pick up off the shelf and go, wow, I really want to buy this and read it. And I really think I was able to put something into a bottle that I'm like really happy with. It's definitely, Cinnamon is one of my favorite things I've ever gotten to work on and create. So I'm so glad that people are seeing it and enjoying it. And they're down for my brand of weird.
Like, I love it. It's like,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
definitely.
It's really cool.
It really is.
And I love it. I've always been a big person. Like whenever I read any kind of like comic book or if it's manga, if the art style is good, you got me like 50%.
Yep.
And then if you go ahead and throw in a good story and you keep me interested the whole way, then I'm sold on everything. And that's what you did. And it's cool because like I can see when you talk about it that you really do love it, because you just the whole time you talking about it, you can't stop smiling. So that's the beautiful part of it. Like it's really something you love. So that's dope.
I'm glad that shows through.
Yeah.
It does completely. Yeah. But yeah, Victoria, while I was reading it, I don't think I saw any reference to Cinnamon's name. Like, why is her name Cinnamon?
That's a good question, because I think originally, like in my head, the cat's name was Garfield, and that clearly wasn't going to work.
Like, wait a second, this
sounds familiar,
right?
Right?
I could have swore another cat was
like Ripley didn't seem quite right as a name. I think originally, like I wanted to rezo print it in black and red. And so you can see that in the color choice. It's 100% red and black. And so I was like, okay, cool. I have this red cat. What do I name it? Oh, the Red Spice. Sounds good. And it just fit. I think I was designing the logo early on. And I think it was like, okay, I need a name that looks cool on paper. I need it to look really cool. I need it to read really intense, but feel like a cute cat name. And so I knew all the things that I wanted it to be. And so I had my short list, and Cinnamon just felt so, it was the slam dunk that I was looking for. So that's the history of the name.
No, it's definitely one that rolls off the tongue. It's not, like I said, Garfield, it would have been okay. I like the color, kind of like the red and the black. The fact that you came up with Cinnamon instead of like paprika or something, like that.
Or cayenne pepper.
Right. I don't think people would have picked up the cayenne pepper. Like, I don't know about that.
It's a little long.
This is my cat, Sriracha.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't even like how that tastes. Like, I don't think I'll read that. But one thing I wanted to ask though, because we talked about that like earlier, about just what makes somebody want to pick up a comic book. Because first of all, like whether it's a comic book or it's a movie or if it's a novel, the first thing people see and the first thing people latch onto is the cover. And truly enough, if the cover doesn't look great or if the main character of the story doesn't look great, it's probably going to turn some people off. And like we talked about this one time before on another podcast, I see so many times like there's when people do character design, is they over design the character. It's like the character has too much stuff that 9 times out of 10 they don't even use. 2 eye patches or a sword and a missing arm and a peg leg. It's like, what's going on? But I really, really like your design for Cinnamon. And I just wanted to know, like, how long did it take you to get to that design that we see today?
It moved really quickly. The first sketch that I ever did of Cinnamon is in the back of issue 1, and like it's slightly different, but more or less it was just a throwaway from way before. It was just a character just jotted down, and it felt like the perfect opportunity to just lift that and then adapt it. Maybe the idea was rolling around in my head for longer than like even I knew. So it was really guided by, what do I think looks cool? Well, leather jackets are cool. Let's put some spikes on it, but not too many because I don't want to draw a bunch. I wanted to make sure that Cinnamon's face looked really cool when it's angry. And when she gets mad, I want it to just be like this kind of dripping with steez, just going crazy, going sicko mode. And so it was just, I drew a lot of spot illustrations and tried to make it look as cool as possible. And if something didn't look like styling, then I cut it out and I redid something. The only aspect that I was like 100% like, I need this to happen, was the patch on the back of the jacket, which is an asterisk, but it's really just like a cat's butthole. So people can pick up on that.
It actually did pick up on that because
So like it's my dream to get like a 12-inch giant kitty butthole patch for a jacket of mine. I just think it's so funny. And so I just really wanted Cinnamon to be guided by as few principles as possible so I could just draw her super quick over and over and over. And overall, I'm really happy with it. I was really nervous that it would be something that I would struggle to draw like the hundreds and hundreds of times that I needed, but it's felt very fluid and natural, and I've had a great time drawing her. Like it hasn't felt like a chore.
That's good.
Yeah.
And that's something I don't even think about, because I'm sure, and it like I said, it leans back what I was talking about before. When you have so much stuff on a character, it has to become a chore to draw that over and over.
I think that's why eventually those characters like either start losing it or they get like a costume change.
Right.
Like mid-issue, they're like, oh, let's give them a costume change real quick because that's too much.
Exactly.
That's how I used to do mine. I keep it like the most simple character. Like I give them a shirt. If we want to put a little hood, I put a little hood. I might cut the sleeves out, give them a jacket. But as far as like putting all the extra accessories and holsters, and I'm like, bro, I don't know how these people draw all of this all the time. Like it's crazy.
It's definitely sick.
Yeah, and one thing I like about like leather, as far as like illustrating leather jackets or skinny jeans, is you don't have to put that many wrinkles.
Exactly.
That is the truth.
Mhm.
Yes. That's very true.
Definitely. And it's just like, once again, a balance of trying to make something that's stylistic that people will just look at and, oh my gosh, that's dope. And then try not to kill your hand, at the same time. But we think you did a great job of accomplishing both.
I'm so glad.
It's really awesome stuff.
Really.
I feel like Cinnamon's got a quality to it that just it's a fun time with a fun character that I think people are going to remember, and that's something.
Definitely.
Yeah. But another thing about your art style, I really like how squiggly it is. It kind of messes with my eyes as I read it, and as I like look at the illustrations, I'm just like, and I'm just like, why is it moving? Because in the action sequences, it just felt like it was just like moving on the page.
It did.
It's real interesting, especially like how you do the like the burst of light.
Oh,
like
yeah.
And I actually been trying to figure out how to render burst of light in my own drawings. And this is really cool how you do it.
That's got a bit of a story behind it. I come from a background of like painting, like oil painting and real like illustrations for children's books and editorial illustrations and things like that. And I was so like detail oriented. I was so obsessed with everything looking perfect. And so when I did pen and ink drawings, I found myself drawing a line, redoing the line, especially in Photoshop when you can undo everything. I just found myself redoing the same line over and over and over. And so I was reading Tech on Kingcrete by Taiyo Matsumoto, and it was like just real loose Japanese comics where like everything made sense. Everything was in perspective. Everything was drawn correctly, but his line work was so like squiggly. And I really wanted to tune into that and mess myself up. And so I was actually using a plugin for Photoshop called Lazy Nezumi, which is supposed to smooth your lines. And I inverted it and said, I want you to like totally mess up my lines, just ruin it. I don't want to be able to ever get it right. I just want to have to commit to something and move on. And so it was a real learning experience for me to just let go of that control and that obsessive need to be correct and right and perfect. And that was like this huge aha moment leading into Cinnamon. And it informed a lot of the cute style and the real world in Cinnamon to just have a much looser line art that wasn't focused on being super correct. But it still like pops in some of my bursts of light and a lot of the line art that I'm doing lately outside of Cinnamon. But it's been a really important part of my growth as an artist is to just let go of perfect lines. And so that's a skinny, unsquiggly art, at least for me.
So was that something that you also had to work on as far as breaking apart from what you would learn during college, or did they, like during your curriculum, did they make it to where you could do whatever you wanted to do with your art?
So my schooling was split between two different schools. For about 8 years on and off, I was attending Brigham Young University, Idaho. And that was a very like rigorous, conservative, like competitive program that was focused on doing things like the right way and the way that's marketable and the way that makes money. And it definitely had a totally different feel to it. And I felt like I was learning the right way to make art, or at least the way that's been proven for countless of these like professors. And so I just like had it in my head that I had to do things the right way. And I really bought into that. But switching over and transferring to CCAD was a lot more loosey-goosey. It was like it was a garden and the professors were watering us to see what we grew into instead of trying to force us to fit a mold or become the next X, Y, or Z creator. And so like I was there for 2 years, and it honestly took the whole 2 years to break myself and let go of some of these preconceived notions that I had about what would be good art or what was art that people wanted to see. And so going back to pen and ink and foregoing painting and leaving that behind for a little bit, it's felt like not only was CCAD super down for whatever I was wanting to make, but I feel like I was finally making work for myself and not just, do I think I can sell this? Do I think I can market this to another dentist to do illustrations for their website? It felt this was what I needed to be making. For maybe the first time, I felt like I really had a drive to make my own stuff. And so I'm super grateful for that and for the space that CCAD gave me to explore my own style and to really explore something dramatically different. And the reception to it was like so good, and people really wanted to see more of it, and I really wanted to see more of it because it was surprising to me. It's like, wow, this is so like real instead of polished up a billion steps. There were all these imperfect details that just totally expressed where I was and what I wanted to be making.
That's such an odd thing to boxing, to especially I guess for institutions that have to teach it, to try to, I get why also, but it's just a weird thing. The boxing creativity is like, yeah, you could be creative, but only this way. It's kind of odd.
No, for sure.
Okay.
No, I was saying,
yeah, and especially because I know we talked about earlier, Victoria, you're an anime fan, and a lot of what I heard, because I didn't go to college for art, but I went to a performing and visual arts high school. And everybody hears it. Anime in Western art isn't necessarily marketable, and we call it anime. And in anime, it does have its own stylistic type of like way that it looks, but at the end of the day, it's still just a different way of drawing. So I'm like, it's just weird to just tell somebody that something isn't marketable, so you shouldn't do it. Especially like you said, if that's my style. It's like, what do you want me to do? That's so tough to tell an art student that.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think it was like this idea of we're going to give you a quiver full of arrows and say, pick the tool in your toolbox that works for the job and give the client what they want and make sure you can do everything so that you can do what the client wants. And I was like, you're going to learn oil painting and you're going to learn charcoal drawing and pastels and all the things that you need to be this like Swiss Army knife. And at the same time, like there were some really stellar people I went to school with that came out of that first program, like killing it and making really cool stuff and kind of still staying true to themselves. But I was not that person. I really struggled to define my sense of style because I really needed the validation of the client or my teacher or the people I was going to school with. And so going to CCAD and all of a sudden, like nobody cared who was the best. It really was like a culture shock of, holy cow, you can do anything as long as you're doing it really freaking good for what it is. Like, it was just awesome. It helped that like the way that they taught comics was definitely in line with like independent comics and like small press, micro press stuff where people are doing full comics in crayon and it's just killer. It's the coolest thing I've ever read, but it's in crayon. And so you're okay, no holds barred, nothing is off the table anymore. And I think being able to take that sensibility and take it to something that's distributed by Diamond and like in stores is not something that a lot of people have seen or read. And so Cinnamon is way looser than a lot of stuff that's Marvel and DC levels of polished and like.
But like speaking about complexity, it's even like worse when you can like flex when you have that ability. Because I was on your Instagram and I saw that Breath of the Wild Zelda drawing. That was an amazing drawing. It was really good. Like really good.
Yeah,
that's a complete understatement.
I did that.
Man.
I did that right after I was kicked out of BYU. And I told myself, okay, this is it. I'm going to go find another school that wants me. I'm going to go have the time of my life. And I'm going to sell posters of fan art at cons. And that's my life. That's my goal. And so I did that. I did that poster as well as a bunch of other like anime fan art posters. And it was great. And it was really like cathartic to walk away from art school and go to a different art school and feel things out. And I think I've become a little more nuanced in the past 2 years. And the Breath of the Wild poster was really a culmination of what I used to make. And so I still go back to it and I still want to incorporate it. But like for now, I'm just following my own heart. And these are uncharted waters for me that I'm just like, I feel so fulfilled making what I'm making, that eventually I can introduce the painting back into things in like an authentic way that doesn't feel like forced or like it's what people want me to make. And I think I need it to be my own thing by the time it comes back. But
that makes sense. I'm glad that you were able to find like a community and a school that really, facilitated you thriving and really just being happy about what you're doing. Because at the end of the day, as an artist or anybody, if you're doing something that you love, you never want it to become something that's robotic and formulaic and makes you fall out of love with it. Because what happens?
Exactly.
You stop doing it. No, I'm definitely glad that you just were able to find your love for what you do, for your art. And we were talking about this. I think it was after like 2 podcasts ago, I think, because Marcus had brought up something about some Marvel and DC comics, and they were showing us, and then I showed them your stuff, and it's just like how much of a really breath of fresh air it is. And I'm not gonna trash Marvel and DC, because we're fans. We're all Marvel and DC fans. But at a certain point, it just gets to where everything is it gets boring. It's just, this is the same. I want something like really just out there, something completely different than what I'm seeing. And just looking at people like who we all had on last time, HS Top, and then looking at your work, it's a breath of fresh air. And I think a lot of comic book companies, they should take note. They should really take note of that, because it shows. You got these comics, like, we're not going to mention Miss Carol Danvers, but we got certain comics out there that aren't selling. And number one is just like you said, you look at the cover art and you're just like, oh, I'm not impressed. I'm gonna just walk by. And this is a bunch of the same. So that's why, once again, we appreciate everything you're doing. It's completely a breath of fresh air. We're 100% here for it. So
I'm waiting for the next issue, man.
Yes.
Like, I'm just like, need more.
It's gonna be real good.
I'm ready.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's like you said, it's like when you see that cover art, you walk by, you be like, oh, what is that? That looks new. That looks interesting. I like that style. Because like I literally do that when I go in the comic book shop. Like this comic book I got right here, I knew nothing about it. I never heard of it, but I saw this artwork, and then I seen it said Ronin, and I was like, hell yeah,
we are here for this.
No, it's like, gotta be
Exactly.
I'm a sucker for good comic book cover art.
Same.
Yeah.
You got about 5 seconds to catch someone's attention, and if you don't do it, then you're done. Like,
exactly.
But yeah, I was also like 100% sold on Cinnamon when I saw if you just put a fish on a scouter, and I was just
you're following.
See, see, Victoria, we're here. We're right here with you. We understand.
We know the background. You ain't even got to tell us.
Right.
It's all there.
And actually, speaking of background, we talked about a lot of stuff. I want to know for you, like, how did you, like, what piqued your interest in just art as a career path in the first place? Like, what got you into art? You're obviously a writer for your book. Have you always been interested in writing? Give us the background.
I grew up just making art all the time, making dumb little comics, making dumb little home movies. My sister and I have been making weird stuff together for a long time. She's just a year younger than me, and she works in animation. So we're always like bouncing off each other. And so like when she was in high school, she did a lot of comics, and she did a successful webcomic for it was a Pokemon Nuzlocke run comic, and it was this whole thing. So we've always been bouncing around just making stuff. And it wasn't until I started thinking about where I wanted to go to college, because that was really like expected. And I was like, okay, what could I possibly do? And really the only thing that held my attention long enough was art. And so I think from the beginning, I needed to go to art, and I needed to be good at art, and I needed to make like better art than anyone else. And so there was this real competitive like drive to just learn everything I could. I was a terrible student. My high school GPA was like a 1.3 or something. It was awful, but I really loved learning the things I wanted to learn. And so going to art school was just a slam dunk, even if it took me 10 years to figure out exactly what I wanted to be doing. And so I had the most circuitous route to comics, specifically because I was in illustration for so long. And I told myself I'd never make comics because I hate drawing the same thing over and over. I was like, there's no way I'm not going to do that, until I started learning animation. And I fell into that. And all of a sudden it was like, whoa, hold up. I get to tell a story with this. I get to make people do whatever I want. Like, how cool is that? So I was doing like little independent animations and things like that. And at some point I had to stop and ask myself, and I was like, hold up. I've been telling myself for years I wouldn't try comics because I didn't want to draw the same character 100 times. I just drew the same character 1,000 times, like 24 times per second for this animated short. Why am I not considering comics anymore? I lost my excuse. And so coming to CCAD, like, they have a stellar comics program, and people kept recommending it. They're like, hey, you should at least try it. And so I think it took those like 8 preparatory years to finally give comics a shot. And from there, it was like, holy moly, not only do I get to tell a story and make something cool, but then I can hold it afterwards as a book on paper, and it's real and I can read it. And that just blew my mind. And I've been hooked on it ever since. I think it's been just a big, long journey towards finally allowing myself to make comics and maybe be less like snooty about fine art. Like, oh, I don't make comics. It took a lot of breaking down the ego. And it turns out it's the thing that I absolutely love doing, and I haven't looked back. So it's been about 2 years since I really made my first like comic in earnest in school. So that's the trajectory.
Oh yeah, and also, were you about to say, Demetrius?
No, I was gonna ask if like in the future, would you like be open to making it like an animated kind of thing, giving Cinnamon the animated treatment?
I would love that. I think it's a great fit, and like the stories are endless, and like there's so much that could happen with it. I would be stoked out of my mind. Because it's a big, crazy comic thing, but it's also like somewhat kid-friendly and accessible for younger audiences. So I purposefully didn't want to alienate people without a reason. And there's no need for sex and drinking and craziness in Cinnamon. I'd love to see it as an animated something, as a cartoon or a movie or a show.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That would be great. Because like Joshua was saying, the movement's already there on the page, so I can already see.
Yeah.
Like I had a whole theme music in my head playing.
Man, for real, bro.
I definitely had a soundtrack while I was making it.
I'm serious. Like I'm talking about like heavy, like I talk about FLCL, like heavy guitars. Like every time Cinnamon went from like regular cat to like badass biker chick, I was just like,
nailed it
immediately. But not. Oh, go ahead, Josh.
No, I was gonna say, who wouldn't like a cat in a leather jacket? Come on.
Yeah, that's
right.
It'd be a smash hit.
Right, who needs a cat in a hat? Like, come on,
cat. You know what I'm saying? We got a leather jacket and a bike. What's up?
We don't need a cat in a hat. Whatever.
Look, we don't even know
exactly.
I wanted to make sure that I wrote it as a comic and to be a comic. And that's something that I'm seeing a lot lately, especially in like the upper indie comics, is people are writing these graphic novels as a spec script for a movie. And they're making it hoping to sell the movie rights and make it into a movie.
Yeah,
and
that's completely
it's so visible.
Yes.
When it feels like a screenplay, and it's, come on, man, just make me a comic. Trust the process, trust the medium. There's so much you can do in comics that you can't do in movies. Like just playing with the sense of time in between panels, it just blows my mind. I have some ideas I want to touch on with like really warping time between panels in a story. That like, why are there not more time travel stories in comics? Like it'd be so good.
Because people are lazy and they're hard to do.
Yeah, really.
That's exactly why.
But like, I don't know. There's so much that comics have to give that aren't superhero comics. It's a whole thing. And so I would love to see Cinnamon animated, and I think it would really like fit. It'd feel real good. Get that Sakuga, get the nice animation for fights and stuff. But first and foremost, I'm so happy with it as a comic, as like something that's representative of what comics can be if we allow them to. And if people read it and buy it and like it, then it says we can keep making more of this. And I think that's really the proving ground is I'm going to keep making Cinnamon for as long as people keep reading it. That's the hope.
Oh yeah, we're definitely advocates for Cinnamon over here. So
good.
Like, yeah, we are definitely down. And please tell me, because I've been meaning to ask you the whole time. Please tell me you got an A for that capstone.
I got the piece of paper that said I graduated. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like an A to me.
Right.
Sounds like an A to me. That sounds like a 100.
No, it was tough. Like, I mean, middle of the pandemic, they pretty much just said, you'll finish it. Please just finish it. We don't care. We're just going to give anything an A. Just get it done because like the world's on fire. We totally get it. People were working from home overnight when like they really needed the facilities on campus. It was just like for everyone involved, it was like, okay, really just scramble, get it done, whatever it means. The effort basically means, but like really, I'm so happy. I'm happy that I had that time. Like the deal was we went home for spring break. We had a week off and we got an email at the end of the week that said, okay, spring break's forever. Bye guys. Like you're not going back on campus.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And I haven't seen anyone since. It's just wild. We're just now starting to peek out from our cave.
Exactly. Like you said, I'm complete introvert life. Like I got the pandemic beard. I watch Netflix all day, make these podcasts with my friends. It's pretty chill over on this side. So
oh yeah.
Like I'm okay ordering a bunch of pizza. I'm okay. Exactly. In the man cave, I'm holding up pretty well.
But
like, yeah. What's up, Josh?
But yeah, Victoria. Speaking of Netflix, what you watching? Like, tell us at the Square Round Table what's been on your watch list.
What have I been watching? I've been watching a lot of anime.
Drop some names.
As far as what's currently coming out, I've been watching 8686.
Okay.
Which has been wild. I love Darling in the Franxx, and the same people who made that kind of spun off to do another anime about young kids in mechas saving a weird utopia. And it's like, oh, I'm sold on the formula. Give me more.
Right.
So that's been good. I've been watching Vivi Fluorite Eyes Song, which is weird. It's like a Funimation exclusive, but it's like robot idols save the world kind of a thing. It's been funky. Man, what else? I don't know. It feels like so much rotates through.
Yeah.
Completely. Yeah. But if you weren't finished.
No, there was a really good Netflix movie that just came out that I watched. What was it? Oxygen. That was a real.
Okay, I'm about to check it out.
Check that out.
And that's a like lady wakes up in a cryopod and can't get out and has 35 minutes before she runs out of air, kind of a thing. So it's like a sci-fi thriller.
Cool.
Okay.
That was a real good time. It was a real good movie. I'm big into the sci-fi. I really like brain bender.
Yeah.
Please tell me you've seen, speaking of sci-fi, Love, Death, and Robots. Have you seen that?
I'm working through it. I'm working through the first season because I never want it to end. It is super duper my thing.
Yes. Yeah, so definitely season 2, and I'm not going to spoil any of it, but it lives up to the first one, so it's really good. So
it reminds me a lot of Black Mirror, except cool instead of sad. And I'm down for that.
Right, because Black Mirror goes left so fast.
Yeah.
It does. For real.
And I grew up watching like old Twilight Zone stuff, and like I love the idea. But that's what sci-fi is so good at, is you take people and you add this little thing that just twists the equation. It makes people do things or react to it, and you can tell a really good story when you're like, okay, what do you do? And everyone's a clone. Sci-fi,
Exactly.
What do people act like then? And that's, as much as I love making like funny, lighthearted action comics, like I really love just crazy sci-fi stories.
There'd be a crazy sci-fi story from Victoria Douglas in the future?
Oh man, I got a lot. I have a whole like notebook full of just like ideas. I got some stuff kicking around. Once I'm done with this current round of Cinnamon, I just want to sit down and crank out a one shot that's a little more like grounded and sci-fi oriented. While I was in school, I kind of got like typecast into, somehow I ended up constantly making horror comics about teeth. That was a weird thing. And I don't know, sci-fi and horror do a lot of the same things with just like illuminating what people do when they're exposed to something, whether it's something they're scared of or something that they don't understand. So I think just poking and prodding at what it means to be a person now. What does our life look like post-pandemic? What is anything really? So I have some ideas on the sidelines, but for now, like I'm just all about that Cinnamon life, just having a blast making it.
I can definitely see it. It's because even with the thing I like so much about the horror genre, see, you got me started. You really are in trouble because you said you like horror, because that's all.
Here we go.
Yeah, here we go.
Here we go.
So I gotta get.
There we go.
I thought it was gonna come out with the Twilight thing, but now you said the horror thing.
The thing I love about horror so much is that, like you said, you could take something small, mundane, something everyday, and just make something crazy out of it. And that's a lot what you do with Cinnamon. And I think that's like fantastic. And also there's so much, like when you talked about, you made like horror stories or short stories about teeth, it put me into the mindset of Junji Ito, like something like that kind of stuff. Yeah. It's just, you're a Junji Ito fan also?
Big time. I have everything out on my bookshelf.
Me too. Yes, me too.
For sure. He's the one I go to when I want to learn more about the page turn. It's just you read, and then when you're going to turn the page and get something real like grotesque, but like how do you know? How do you know ahead of time? Like he builds that sense of dread so effortlessly.
He's a master.
And so that has a lot of parallels to Action Comics, because like you're going to have the lead up, you're going to know the punch is going to hit when you turn the page, but you got to build that up. And again, like that's something that only can be done in comics. And I think that's why adaptations of Junji Ito have struggled so much, is because like you have to lean on so much else, like the music and the framing. Where comics, you have this built-in horror tension mechanic. You just turn the page, that's it. And if you're scared to turn the page, then horror works.
Definitely. It's. Oh, what were you about to say, Josh?
Oh yeah. Well, you can finish, Chad. I didn't want to cut you off.
Oh no, I was just agreeing, because I'm like, yeah, it's a complete package. And especially like we talked about with imagery, that the biggest thing why he's so popular is just this grotesque like illustrations. Like it's just so good. I could talk about it for hours.
But yeah, comics just have that built-in perspective, because you have to get that perspective because that's what's on the paper. Like kind of on the panel with Cinnamon on a motorcycle. There's no other way you can look at that but Cinnamon possibly driving down this imaginary street into whatever. It's just the perspective that you just have to have.
And once again, it's just like the stylistic art. Like it just, of course, it's just a picture, but just the way it's drawn, it's like, imitating movement, and that's what makes it so interesting.
Yeah, that's definitely what I've been chasing with Cinnamon and with a lot of my work, is nailing down movement and the feeling of movement when something's not actually moving.
It works 100%.
I appreciate that.
Oh, no problem. You were definitely welcome. And as far as writing, like how was that for you as far as like telling a narrative? Were you used to that, or was it something you had to learn really quick for that?
It felt like a separate kind of skill set that I was slotting in. I've always loved science fiction short stories. And so I've been writing just like little bits and pieces here and there all my life. And most of them were comedy, and it'd be some like really serious topic, but told in a really funny way, because I wanted people to read what I had made and laugh. And that was the goal, is to just get people to chuckle. And so the summer that I really shifted into comics at CCAD, I bought a ton of books on making comics and a ton of books on writing comics, and I just devoured them. It was like, okay, I can write a story, but does that translate to writing a good comic? And so I think there was an adjustment period, but I think the core goal that I had was still to just make people laugh. And I think that's something that I feel tapped into, and it's something I find really validating out of my work. I really enjoy writing. I think it's something that like, it takes a lot more time doing like the whole package, writing and drawing and coloring, but it's definitely what I feel comfortable and happy doing right now. Not to preclude the option of collaborating with someone, like I'm definitely down for that, but like, I feel like it was pretty seamless. And especially with an idea like Cinnamon, like I'm not worried about where the comic's going to go, because it's like there's no way to screw it up as long as I can keep telling good jokes and having funny situations for a cat to get into. But like literally all the inspiration is right there, because I have a cat, and I have two cats now. We got another cat about a year ago, so that may factor in later in Cinnamon.
That'd be pretty cool.
But that's, I don't know, I always want to keep looking around me and keep turning those stories into my brand of funny action, lighthearted, goofy weird. And I'm just having so much fun doing that.
That's really awesome. And the fact that you're having so much fun with your work, with your comic, and that's like through the visuals, through the words, through the comedic timing, which is just, it's impeccable. And we can totally see how much fun you're having. And like I said, from all of us, we completely appreciate the work you put out and we support it.
100%.
Oh no, 100.
I'm glad. Like that's what it's about, is if I can make people happy, if I can make a new fan, it means you're enjoying it as much as I'm enjoying it. And that's all I want, is to share that love.
The love is definitely felt like that. And I really, truly wish the best for Cinnamon and then all your other works that may come out later. I'm going to be looking for the sci-fi horror stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So definitely hit my inbox when that comes out. Let me know. But definitely Cinnamon is completely amazing. And we, like I said, we're fans. You have definitely fans in the Square Roundtable podcast.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Like it just has the whole package. You got leather jackets, you have scouters.
Exactly.
It's like what's not to like?
Right?
What's not to like? Everything is there.
It's for a particular type of person, and if it's what you want, then boy, it's what you want.
Exactly. And exactly. And from one, like I said, anime fan to another, like it's completely amazing. It's 100% what I want. So,
yeah.
But yes, it has completely been a pleasure talking to you tonight, Miss Victoria. It's been
so
awesome.
Good.
Yes.
This has been a blast.
It's been a blast for us too.
For sure. Yeah.
Is that a crack on your screen? I just noticed that. Is that like a filter thing?
Yeah, it's just a little like overlay.
I just noticed that. And then you got the teddy bear waving on the that's pretty cool.
Oh, I thought that was like on that black little thing in the background. I was like, oh, she got like
no, dude, it's moving.
Yeah, the teddy bear. I saw the teddy bear, but I thought that little thing was like a poster or something, like the little crack you're talking about. I was like, oh,
I have a bunch of just fun, weird little
snap.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow.
It's funky. Cool. I've just been having fun throwing weird stuff in.
No, that's pretty cool. Do you mind like for the for some of the like the stuff we're gonna do as far as putting the podcast on or advertising for it? Can we use that the Cinnamon thing you just had for one of the promotionals for the podcast? Yeah, we're definitely. I'm gonna have to screenshot that and use that.
I'll send it over to you.
Okay.
Yes, definitely. We're gonna have to use that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
But yeah, no, that was dope. That was cool. How long did it take you to? So you made that yourself? How does that even work?
Yeah. I just I pulled up my camera and I screenshotted like the camera, so I knew where I was in the screen, and then I just drew over it in Photoshop.
That's cool.
No, that's dope.
Yeah, so it's just like a PNG. It just like sits on top of everything. I don't know. Figure out where I'm supposed to be.
No, that's cool. We're completely used to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Victoria, before we head out, definitely let all of our listeners and all of our viewers and everybody out there know, number one, where they can find you on social media, and then where they can find Cinnamon and everything else you got working on, maybe some stuff you got coming in the future. Just let them know everything you got.
Absolutely. Let me make sure I got this right. So first of all, you can find me on Instagram at blackbit.exe. That's the place where I'm most active, but I also have a Twitter. Just search for my name. I think it's at VSQKI. My website is blackbit.world. That's my little hand-coded mess in the corner of the internet. It's got a page full of butts, so go check that out. It's a good time. So Issue 1 is available for pre-order right now on Behemoth's website, and Issue 2 is currently in the previews catalog right now. And so if you want to order that at your local comic book store, then the code is JUN 211311 or 331. We got 2 variants. Super excited about them. It's going to be a good time. Let your comic shop know that you want to see Cinnamon and see future issues, because that goes a long freaking way towards letting the publisher know that like people want more. So that's what I got going on. Issue 3 is going to be in the previews catalog next month, and that'll round out the year. Issue 1 comes out July 28th. That's when the Action Cat Comics Invasion officially begins. So,
On my birthday. All right.
Oh, for real?
Hey, good
That's-
birthday,
Yes, that's July 28th. I will be 28. Yeah.
Hey.
Ooh, boy, you getting up there?
You getting old, boy?
I'm getting old, yeah. I'm getting up
that's
there.
2 days after my birthday.
Hey.
Oh,
What?
man, that's awesome.
I'm on the
Oh.
26th.
That's what's up. All of us July folks. My Joshua, he's July 7th. Look at that.
Yeah.
See?
No way.
Yeah.
Good
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah.
Well, happy
Oh, yeah.
birthday. Read some cat comics.
Hey.
Thank you. We certainly will. But that
Yeah.
is totally awesome. And yeah, guys, for all of our viewers and listeners out there, no worries if you missed any of that. We will put all of Victoria's information, of course, in the description below. So yeah, guys, go ahead out there and check out Cinnamon Man. Go ahead and pre-order it. All of that good stuff. It is an amazing comic. It's hilarious. The art style is wonderful, and I just love it. I can't wait for you to put out some more, Victoria.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Here's the cover if you haven't seen it.
Whoa, there it is.
Looking
Okay,
slick.
there it is.
Super excited to
That is-
share it.
Yes.
That is definitely heat. And once again, all of that stuff will be in the description below, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been like just the time of my life. I've loved talking to you guys. This has been so fun.
Oh man,
Yeah, it's
thank
been
you.
fun.
We love
Awesome.
talking to
Yes,
you,
sir.
man.
It's
Yeah.
been completely fun on my side too, because just corresponding back and forth with you and the guys from Soul and Telepaths. You know, I've just been so excited to be able to talk to you, because I think when I was sent all the comics that were coming out, like yours popped out to me immediately. I was like, oh, I definitely want to talk to whoever's comic this is.
Yeah.
And he was just like, yeah, okay, great, here's her email. I'm like, awesome. So it happened just like that. So immediately we were able to touch base, and I'm glad. This has been fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you could definitely come
Definitely.
back at any time you have a new comic
Yeah,
out or
anytime.
anything. Please come back on the show. Like, you are more than welcome. We will be happy to have you again.
For
We
sure
will.
take you up on that, because this has been phenomenal. It's been great to just chat and shoot the evening.
We always,
Yeah.
really appreciate it when a guest enjoys themselves. That it
Always.
warms my heart. I'm so happy to hear it. And it's just been like a chill conversation. It's been really fun. So thank you again.
For sure.
But guess what, guys?
Shameless
Shameless
promotional.
promotion.
Shameless promotion.
Yes, guys.
You can catch us on YouTube on Friday at any time. If you like the video, smack that like button. Leave us a nice comment. If you checked out the book already, leave us some, your favorite parts in the comment below. Share the video. That helps out a lot. Hit the notification bell underneath the video so you get notified of this video and the ones that come out afterwards. And like always, here I am. Yeah. Coming with the Facebook group. Here we are.
Man, come on now.
Here we
Right.
are again with the
Interaction.
Facebook.
Yes.
With the
Talk
Facebook
to us,
group,
please.
I feel like I keep coming to you guys, and you're just like, "Nah, we're not gonna do that." And I'm here again. Join the Facebook group. Hit us up on Instagram, Square Round Table 1, and
Yep.
on Twitter. And yeah, just
All
join
right,
the Facebook
guys.
group.
And once again, and join our Facebook group, please. Exactly. Our Facebook group is so dead. So join our Facebook group, guys. But on a serious note, guys, once again, this podcast has been so awesome, and I'm happy we got a chance to speak. And I would love all of everybody, including our wonderful guests for the evening, to introduce themselves one more time before we head out. And I am your host, Chad Singleton.
Dmitri.
I'm Josh Singleton.
I'm Marcus.
And I'm Victoria.
Awesome. And this has been the Square Round Table Podcast, guys. We are out.
Peace.
Peace.